After all those long months on the road, through summer heat, cotton fields, quicksand, snow, and Christmas morning in Arkansas, the Hamilton family finally began to settle into life again. Arkansas was not a strange place to Bob and Ina. Both of them had been born there, and years earlier, Arkansas had been their very first home together. Now, after their covered wagon journey from Jayton, Texas, they had come back to the state where their story had begun. Before long, the family settled near Benton in Saline County, Arkansas, close to Ina's parents, David and Sarah Newcomb. To the Hamilton children, that meant one very happy thing. They were near Grandpa and Grandma. And Grandpa Newcomb was not the quiet, sit-in-the-corner kind of grandpa. No, sir. Grandpa liked to tease. He especially liked to tease little Johnie Hamilton. By now, Johnie was 8 years old enough to think he knew a thing or two, but still young enough to believe his grandpa, when Grandpa leaned close and whispered something that sounded important. One summer day, the family was visiting at the Newcomb home. The grown-ups were talking, the children were scattered around the porch and yard, and Grandpa sat rocking back and forth in his favorite chair. Then he spotted Johnie. "Johnie," Grandpa called in his raspy old voice, "come over here a minute." Johnie came running. Grandpa leaned down and whispered, "Do you see that little girl over there by the edge of the porch?" Johnie looked. It was his cousin, about 10 years old, and in Johnny's opinion, not very interested in playing with him. "Yeah, Grandpa, I see her." "Well," Grandpa whispered, "if you want to have some real fun, go over there and goose her in the ribs. She likes that. She'll laugh so hard you won't believe it." Johnie looked at the girl. Then he looked back at Grandpa. "Are you sure?" "Of course I'm sure," Grandpa said, trying hard not to grin. "Go on now, give her a good one." So Johnie crept across the porch, stood behind his cousin, and gave her a hard poke in the ribs. He was expecting laughter. He did not get laughter. That little girl spun around, mad as a hornet, and shoved Johnie so hard he flew right off the porch and landed flat on his back. "Don't you ever come near me again, Johnie Hamilton," she hollered. And from behind him, Johnie heard Grandpa laughing like he had just seen the funniest thing in all of Arkansas. That was when Johnie knew he had been tricked again. He got up, dusted himself off, and stomped toward the barn. "I'll get even with Grandpa," he muttered, "if it's the last thing I do." Later that day, Johnie saw his chance. Grandpa was asleep in his rocking chair, snoring softly, with one big overall pocket hanging open. Johnie tiptoed closer, then closer, and then, in the way only a little boy would think of, Johnie got his revenge. He tinkled right into Grandpa's pocket. Grandpa never moved. Johnie ran into the house laughing so hard he could barely breathe. Ina and Grandma Newcomb looked at him. "What in the world is so funny?" Ina asked. Johnie asked if they promised not to get mad. They promised, so he told them. For a moment, the two women just stared at each other. Then they burst out laughing. Grandma laughed until tears came to her eyes. "Well," she said, "it serves him right. He's always tricking you. It's about time somebody turned the tables on him." A little later, when Grandpa woke up, Ina and Grandma led Johnie back out to the porch. "Grandpa," Ina said, "what is that in your pocket?" Grandpa blinked. "What pocket?" "That pocket," Grandma said, pointing. Grandpa reached his hand deep into the pocket. Then he froze. He pulled his hand out and stared at it. Johnie, Ina, and Grandma all burst out laughing. Grandpa turned red in the face. "Why, you little brat," he shouted, and started after Johnie. But Ina and Grandma stopped him. "You let him be," Grandma said. "You know you had it coming. Grandpa sat back down, fuming. "The very idea," he grumbled. "That boy tinkling in my pocket." But after a few seconds, his frown began to soften. Then one corner of his mouth twitched, then the other. And before long, Grandpa threw his head back and laughed a big belly laugh. Johnie laughed too, and just like that, Grandpa and Johnie were friends again. But Grandpa was not done with tricks, not by a long shot. Another day, Grandpa led 2 mules over to where Johnie was playing. "Guess what, Johnie?" he said. "These mules belong to you." Johnie stared at them. "Mine? They're not my mules, Grandpa. I'm too little to have mules." "Well, I don't know about that," Grandpa said seriously. "But they're your mules, all right." "How do you know?" Grandpa lowered his voice. "Because they wrote you a letter." Johnie looked at Grandpa. Then he looked at the mules. "A letter? Mules can't write letters." "I don't know how they did it," Grandpa said, "but they did. I found the letter right there in the horse trough, where the mailman left it." Now Johnie was interested. Grandpa took him to the trough, reached down, and picked up a letter addressed to Johnny Hamilton. Then he read it aloud. "Dear Johnny, we are your mules. You have to take care of us. Love, Mules." Johnie could hardly believe it. His very own mules, and smart mules too. That day, Grandpa showed Johnie how to feed and water them. The next day, there was another letter, and the next day, another. Every single day, those mules wrote to Johnie and reminded him that they were his mules, and he had to take care of them. For 3 whole weeks, Johnie fed and watered those mules. Sometimes he wanted to go play with Gordon. Sometimes he wanted to swim. Sometimes he just did not want to fool with mules at all. But Grandpa would remind him, "Johnie, you'd better take care of your mules." And Johnie did, until one day the mules did not write. Johnie was relieved. "Grandpa," he said, "I hope those mules never write me another letter. I never did want any mules anyway." Grandpa nodded thoughtfully. "Well, I guess you'll just have to give them to me then. I could use some mules." Johnie's face brightened. "Yeah, Grandpa, you can have them. They're real smart mules, you know." Grandpa grinned. "Oh well," he thought. It was nice while it lasted. Life in Arkansas was good for the Hamilton family. There was work to do, of course. There was always work. But there was also family nearby, children laughing in the yard, visits on the porch, and stories that would be told for years. One August day in 1919, Quanah sat contentedly on the porch with Aunt Sally. They talked about the long journey from Jayton to Arkansas, the wagons, the cold, the hard days, and all they had been through. "I sure am glad we aren't living in a covered wagon now," Sally said. "Me too," Quanah replied. "I'm happy right here. Arkansas is my home. The children love being close to their grandparents, and we are all so happy." Then Quanah said the words she meant with all her heart. "I feel sure we'll never move again. At least, I'm not ever moving again. Mark my word." But out by the barn, Bob and Uncle Tommy were having a different kind of conversation. Bob leaned toward Tommy and said, "You know what I heard in town today?" Tommy looked at him. Bob continued, "There's a fellow with a brother out in Texas in a town called Quanah. Says the land out there is something to see. Says there's some mighty good farmland all around Quanah." Then Bob paused, and with that familiar twinkle in his eye, he said, "You know, Tommy, I've been thinking," and if Quanah had heard those words from the porch, she might have packed a skillet and thrown it